So is it dangerous to live in Myrtle Beach? Today we're going to discuss this. What's happening, guys? It's Jeremy Blanton with RE/MAX Southern Shores, and today I want to take some time to discuss how dangerous is it to live in Myrtle Beach? What are some of the big things that we face each and every day here? And what are the things that might concern you about moving to the area? And I'm hoping by today's video end, you're going to feel more comfortable making that move here and not worrying about living in the Myrtle Beach area. So let's get into this and start with our first topic. Alright guys, so the first one on our list today that I want to talk about is flooding. You know, you've probably seen in the national news over the last several years about all of the flooding that has taken place in our area. And a lot of people, when I talk to them on the phone, that is the first question they ask me. Jeremy, is all of Myrtle Beach a major flood zone? Am I going to be flooded? Should I be concerned about living in the area? The reality is this. First off, all of the area, all of Horry and Georgetown County is some sort of flood zone. The real question is it one of the flood zones where you're going to actually get flooded and have issues in 4 to 6 feet of water in your house? Or is it just, hey, you're part of it? The reason that this happens is that here in our area, we're basically flat and we're basically at sea level. Right now, standing right here in my office, I'm at 30 feet above sea level. That is not very high. If you want to know what the difference is, pull your phone out right now. Just pause this video, pull your phone out and open the compass, and it'll tell you what height elevation you're standing at the moment. My guess is that you're much, much higher than here in our area. So with that happening, flooding takes place. Now, a lot of people think, well, the flooding only happens over at the beach. You know, go back to Hurricane Florence. When that hurricane took place, people were all concerned about being flooded and they thought it was all along the beach. The reality is that wasn't the case. Well, you may say, well, what happened? How did we get flooded? Well, to kind of make that make sense, we have to take a second, step back. What happened during Hurricane Florence? It was a major hurricane that ended up hitting in New Bern, North Carolina, just north of us, about 150 miles. The hurricane got to that area and basically stalled right over it. And it just kept churning and churning and churning. And based on some of the numbers that I saw, it was close to almost 30 inches of rain that fell in that area. Well, what happens with all that water? It has to find a way to work its way back out to the ocean and come out from the land. So how did it happen? Well, it came down through the rivers, the streams, the intracoastal waterway, any type of water subject that was out there, they rose with water flow and then they had to come down. So here in our area, Hurricane Florence came through. We basically at the beach were open the next day and it was business as usual. You wouldn't have known that there was a hurricane that came through the area. However, inland, they were the ones that were concerned in the low-lying areas along the intracoastal waterway, people in Conway, people in Longson. When I say Conway in these areas, I don't mean the entire city. It was small little parts of the city near the rivers where they were having these issues. And these places had to wait and just watch for the river to keep going up and up and up until it finally reached that level when is it going to crest? And everybody in our area got excited. Yeah, it crested. And then it had to wait for it to slowly go back down. So in some of our areas here, these homes had maybe 6 to 8 feet of water that got in them. But the reality is that it's small segments of the beach. So one of the things that is so important when you're moving to our area is to work with a local expert that can help direct you away from these areas and tell you these concerns ahead of time. Also, that's another reason why it's super important is that you need to have an agent that is going to require that seller to do a property disclosure on the home. One of the questions that was added after Hurricane Florence was, is there a FEMA claim that has been made on this property? And so when you're purchasing that home, the homeowner is supposed to check, yes, this is flooded. No, this is not. If they haven't, there's nothing we can do about those people that are dishonest. But as a whole, most people are going to be honest. So we're going to know that you're getting a home that is safe. But that, my friends, is flooding in our area. It does happen in certain parts, and yes, it could be an issue, but if we take the right precautions ahead of time, we're going to be okay. And if you really are concerned about it, you can get flood insurance on a home. If it's not in one of the major areas, it might be $400 to $600 a year, and then you have that peace of mind no matter what. So the second thing on our list is hurricanes. Yes, in case you didn't know, hurricanes can happen here in our area. We live in the South. It's an area where there's warm climates and hurricanes do come through here from time to time. I've lived in the area now since 1998. Over that time, I've experienced multiple hurricanes that have come through. Hurricane Bonnie, Hurricane Floyd, Hurricane Florence, Matthew, and one of the latest ones, Dorian. Yeah, here, check out this little video clip of Dorian and what happened with that one. Yeah, so as a whole, people who live in our area, most of the people are prepared for hurricanes. We know when they're coming. It's kind of like when you live in the Northeast and you know there's a snowstorm coming. You go to the store, you pick up supplies, and you get prepared to maybe be stuck inside for a couple days. Well, down here, we're stuck inside for a couple days and we may not have electric. But other than that, most of the time, it's not that big of a deal. If you see, though, a hurricane category 3, 4, or 5 coming, and it looks like it might be a direct hit and you're concerned, you simply pack up everything, put all your stuff that's outside in the lawn away in the garage, hide it, and you can take a trip and go somewhere to get out of the area. There's always that option to you. Now, if you live in one of the evacuation zone areas, what I would suggest is this. If they make a mandatory evacuation for your zone, you definitely want to really consider taking that move and going away. Because if you have an emergency personnel is not going to come and help you. Why? It's too dangerous for them to do it. You're on your own. So if you stay and have a problem, you could end up with a catastrophic event. But overall, hurricanes in our area are a very minimal thing that we have to deal with. The third thing on our list today that I want to talk about is sharks. Listen, guys, we live at the beach. What's in the ocean? Sharks. Are the sharks going to bother you? Really? Not. They're not going to come around you. The one thing I would say is this. When it comes to swimming, don't swim near the piers. Why is that? That's where the sharks are going to hang out. Why do they hang out there? Because there are people up on the piers. They're fishing. And what are they doing? All of their scraps and that they're throwing over the edge. And it's simple, easy, quick feeding for those sharks. So it attracts them to those areas. But if you want to go take a swim in the ocean or just get your toes wet, the sharks are going to be right there trying to eat your feet the minute you put them in the water. Overall, it's a very minor thing that happens in the area. And just like most things in nature, if you leave it alone, it's going to let you alone. Here's a random fact for you. More people die by vending machines than by sharks every year. So is it a major thing to be concerned about? I don't think so. The next thing on our list that I want to talk about that could be a little bit of a danger is fires. And when I mean fires, I mean wildfires in our area. We have had some wildfires over the years since I've lived here. Back in 2009, we probably had the largest one that happened. It consumed almost 30,000 acres and it actually destroyed about 70 homes in the area. Thousands of people were displaced for a while, and it took a lot to rebuild, but things were able to be rebuilt and put back in place. Now, one of the things that we have done here in the area to help prevent this moving forward is if it's a dry season and there's not a lot of rain that comes through, there may be burn bans put in place so that people aren't burning trash in their backyard and oops, the flame got pulled out and started a wildfire. The other thing that happens a lot, I live right off of International Drive and it's a forest through there. Well, what do they do at least usually once every other year? They go in and they do a controlled burn. Well, they'll go and they clear out all of the stuff that's underneath the big trees and clear all that because that's what burns quick and easy. And that's what makes a fire move quickly across an area. So we've made some precautions in our area to make sure we don't have a lot of those wildfires. Luckily, we're not like parts of California and Colorado that have had major things. And I don't really remember the last time we've actually had one in our area. And knock on wood, hopefully we don't have any this year either. The next thing on our list is one that kind of makes me laugh at times, and for some reason it's people from New York who always ask me about it, is do we have alligators down here? People, I guess, that live in the concrete jungle are a little afraid of what it might be like living in an area that would have an alligator. Don't know why, but they are. But here's the reality, guys. There are alligators in our area. They live in the swampy areas of Myrtle Beach and the surrounding areas. So what does that mean? If you let those alligators alone, they're not going to bother you. I used to live in a neighborhood where there were several alligators that lived in the ponds. Why? These alligators, that was their home before the development was ever started. And alligators are always going to go back to their origin when it's time for mating and all that stuff, and they come back each and every year. You could move them far, far away, they're going to find their way back. So we had alligators in our development, and to be honest, my kids thought they were cool. They knew to keep their distance. They never bothered them, but we would have to every day when driving home, Dad, can you go by the pond? Let's see if the alligator's there. And they even named them. Yeah, they gave names to all these alligators. But those alligators never really bothered anyone in any of the development. Now, you do want to take a few precautions. Obviously, if you have small children and you live on that pond, you might want to consider putting a fence in just to make sure the kid doesn't run into the water. Or if you have a small puppy, same thing applies there too. But overall, as I've shared in the past, alligators are fairly lazy animals. I've taken trips to Alligator Adventure up by Barefoot, and they feed them and they talk about the characteristics of an alligator. And one of the things that they always share is that overall, they're pretty lazy creatures. They're gonna basically just lay in the water, wait for the food to swim right by their nose, open up, bite it, eat it, and they're done. They're not going to go, and if they see you out in the backyard, chase you for half a mile to try to get food. They don't have that kind of energy or stamina to make it through. So if you do think that you have an alligator in your backyard and it's something that's of concern, maybe it's becoming a nuisance, maybe it's starting to become a little too friendly. I've seen some stories where they show up at somebody's front door. If that happens, you simply call the Department of Natural Resources or one of the several companies that are in town, and they will come out and basically wrangle up the alligator and move it to an area, relocate it where it's not going to be able to find its way back. If they move them several miles, like I said, they're too lazy to come back home. They're not going to make it, and the problem is now resolved. Another thing that's a huge danger in our area is heat and sun. Guys, we live down in the South. It's warmer here. The sun is more intense in South Carolina than it was when I lived in Pennsylvania or someone who lives up in the Northeast. Back growing up, I remember I could go out in my yard and play for an hour and not have to be concerned about getting a sunburn. We would go to the community pool and I would swim for 2-3 hours with one coat of sunscreen and not have to worry about anything. But down here, guys, it's more intense. You're going to need to make sure, number one, you're reapplying that sunscreen on a regular basis. One of the things that I think is so funny to me, and it really shows right away when it's a tourist in the area, is when you go to walk around places like Market Common or Broadway at the beach, and you always find that one tourist who either they fell asleep on the beach or they forgot to put on sunscreen, and they are just bright pink. And I feel for them because I can just feel the burning sensation and the stinging on my skin and how much it must not be fun to walk like that right now. So you want to make sure that if you're out in the sun, you're number one, applying sunscreen regularly. Number two, one of the other things that happens too much is people suffer heat stroke in our area. Why? They're busy having fun, they're having a good time, and they're not consuming enough water to rehydrate their body. So make sure that you're putting on sunscreen liberally and that you're drinking tons of water to prevent both of those from happening. All right, guys, and the final thing on our list of dangerous things of living in Myrtle Beach, and probably this one is the most dangerous, is the traffic in the area. Yeah, humans, they're the most dangerous thing in our area. Why? Because there are tourists here, guys. We are a tourism town. Millions of tourists visit our area each and every year. And what does that mean? They're in their car, they're driving around, they don't know where they're going. So they're looking down at a phone, GPS, to see where they're supposed to be. They're looking at a text message from somebody saying, "Where are you at?" And they're responding. Horry County, they made laws back a few years ago that you're not allowed to text while driving. You can still use your phone hands-free, but if they catch you with it, they're going to give you warnings and give you tickets for texting while driving. But it still happens, unfortunately. And what's even worse than that is the tourist left. Do you know what that is? Well, if not, let me explain. It's the person who's in the right lane on Kings Highway, and all of a sudden they realize there's the restaurant on the left, and they slam on the brakes, cut across from the right lane to the left turn lane, across 3 lanes of traffic into the left merge, and then all of a sudden make that quick left into the parking lot. Why is that? Well, they gotta get to Olive Garden on time because they gotta get to their unlimited breadsticks and salad, and heaven forbid we get in the way of it. Unfortunately, with all of this traffic, there are a lot of accidents that do happen on the roads here. So what I would suggest is this: as you're driving along, give a little bit of extra space to the cars in front of you, because these people don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing, and you gotta give them extra space. Take a little bit more time, slow down just a little bit, and your ride will be okay. It's all right to put an extra 5 minutes on your trip to get there safely each and every time. And if you do this, you're gonna really enjoy Myrtle Beach and have a much safer time here. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video on some of the big dangers of living in the area. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of information on it and makes you a little bit more comfortable about making the move here. If you're wanting more information, my email's down below. Shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you about those things, or also if you're thinking about making the move, help you make the move here. But as always, if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, get that bell on, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.